The movie opens with a covert U.S. Army Delta Force team preparing for a high-risk mission in the southern Philippines. Their objective is to rescue a captured CIA operative from insurgents in a dense jungle region. Among them is Sergeant J.J. Playboy Kinney, a relatively inexperienced soldier eager to prove himself. Meanwhile, Captain Eddie Reaper Grimm, a skilled U.S. Air Force drone pilot, monitors the mission remotely, providing aerial surveillance and real-time intelligence. His drone feed helps track enemy movements and ensure the team's safety. As the team deploys via helicopter under the cover of darkness, they parachute into the jungle and move cautiously toward the enemy compound. Reaper guides them, warning of patrols and helping them navigate unseen. They take down a few guards silently, ensuring minimal detection. Everything seems to be going smoothly until a sudden communication glitch disrupts their connection with Reaper. Before they can adjust, an unexpected ambush shatters their advantage. The enemy was prepared, and a fierce gunfight erupts, pinning the Delta Force team in a vulnerable position. Soldiers fall one by one as the battle intensifies. The CIA operative they were sent to rescue is executed before their eyes, turning the mission into a complete failure. Amidst the chaos, Kinney's commanding officer is killed, and the remaining soldiers attempt to retreat. Kinney, shaken but determined, covers them as they fight their way out. In the confusion, he is separated from the surviving team members and left stranded in hostile territory. Alone, injured, and low on supplies, Kinney hides in the dense jungle, evading the enemy forces hunting him. Reaper, now aware of the mission's disastrous turn, manages to re-establish communication with Kinney. From his remote base, he becomes the young soldier's only guide. Using the drone's aerial view, Reaper directs Kinney toward safer paths while warning him of approaching hostiles. Kinney moves cautiously, but exhaustion and fear begin to take their toll. At one point, he stumbles upon an enemy checkpoint and narrowly escapes after an intense close-quarters skirmish. Forced to kill in order to survive, he begins to grasp the brutal reality of war. As Kinney moves deeper into the jungle, Reaper advises him to reach an old abandoned outpost where he can find supplies. Along the way, Kinney encounters a group of local villagers caught in the crossfire between the insurgents and government forces. Despite Reaper's advice to stay focused on survival, Kinney cannot ignore their suffering. He risks exposing himself to provide aid, but this act of kindness draws enemy attention. The insurgents descend upon the village, and Kinney is forced to fight once more. Reaper, watching from his drone, provides tactical guidance, helping Kinney outmaneuver his attackers. After a brutal battle, Kinney escapes but is now even more exhausted and wounded. The insurgents, realizing Kinney is still alive, intensify their search efforts. A high-ranking enemy commander sees him as a valuable prize, ordering his forces to bring him in alive. Meanwhile, Reaper struggles with the limitations of remote warfare. He can see everything unfolding, but is powerless to intervene directly. As Kinney reaches the abandoned outpost, he finds old rations, medical supplies, and a broken radio. He attempts to fix it to call for extraction, but time is running out. The enemy is closing in. Reaper spots an approaching enemy team and urgently warns Kinney to leave, but he is too weak to move quickly. The enemy reaches the outpost, and a desperate fight ensues. Outnumbered and barely holding on, Kinney uses his surroundings to his advantage, setting traps and using guerrilla tactics. Reaper, watching through his drone, gives precise instructions, helping Kinney anticipate enemy movements. Despite his best efforts, Kinney is eventually cornered and captured. The insurgents transport him to a heavily fortified camp, where he is beaten and interrogated. The commander taunts him, knowing that an American soldier in captivity is a powerful bargaining chip. Reaper, now emotionally invested in Kinney's survival, defies protocol and takes drastic action. He convinces his superiors to authorize an emergency extraction, but they warn that it is too risky. Left with no other choice, Reaper uses his drone to guide a rescue team toward Kinney's location. Inside the enemy camp, Kinney, battered but unbroken, spots an opportunity to escape when a guard lowers his weapon. He overpowers the guard and retrieves a weapon, fighting his way out just as the rescue team arrives. The final confrontation is intense. With Reaper coordinating from above, the rescue team and Kinney engage in a bloody battle against the insurgents. The enemy commander refuses to surrender and attempts to kill Kenny, but Kenny, now hardened by the experience, defeats him in brutal hand-to-hand combat. As the remaining insurgents scatter, the rescue team extracts Kenny, and they escape the hostile territory. Back at the base, Kenny reunites with Reaper, finally meeting the man who guided him through the nightmare. Their bond, forged through battle, is unspoken but deeply felt. Kenny, once an inexperienced soldier, has been transformed by the ordeal. Reaper, having witnessed the raw brutality of ground combat through Kenny's eyes, reflects on the emotional toll of modern warfare. As the sun rises over the horizon, both men acknowledge that war changes everyone, but survival depends on those willing to fight for each other.